Hi guys, what is going on, and welcome back to another episode on Mountain Blade Bannerlord. So, one of the areas of the game that has kind of really been introduced since Warband, and I think is most interesting, is the blacksmithing side of the game. And it's something that we've not really seen too much on in terms of information, and I know it's something that confused me quite a lot at the start of the game, and it's something a few people have commented or asked about in the comment section, so I thought, well, let's take a look. And I've spent the last sort of couple of days really digging into sort of the blacksmithing a little bit more, kind of trying to get it figured out a little bit and sort of experimenting around with it. So I just want to dive into it and kind of tell you a little bit about what I've learned so far, so you can sort of have a go at it yourself. So firstly, obviously there is an independent blacksmithing skill, same as any other skill, and obviously it levels up the more you do various blacksmithing elements. Currently I'm only at 61, but I mean, this is from a fair few days of doing this, so it does take a while to level the skill up. But everything action you do in blacksmithing, from smelting to forging to refining, all affects your smithing level. So then it comes on to the main sort of core ingredients. So these are all the different materials that are going to be used in smithing along the bottom. The most important one of which is going to be hardwood, well, and charcoal, but charcoal is a direct derivative of hardwood. So, for example, if we go over to the refining menu, so this is where we can craft all our materials, all our crude iron, wrought iron, steel, etc, etc, then you'll see the number one you'll start off with is 2 hardwood to 1 charcoal. As you level your character up more and more, you will get access to a slightly more efficient one, which is 3 hardwood to 2 charcoal. It makes it sort of, a little bit more efficient, so only 1.5 hardwood per charcoal rather than 2. So let's just refine a few of them. And you'll see, that uses up some of our hardwood to give us some charcoal. Even doing things like this does increase your blacksmithing level. And to be honest, I've honestly found refining to be one of the most efficient ways of leveling up your blacksmithing level. Far more efficient than actually trying to forge lots and lots of crap swords. I find it much easier and much more efficient, just to whack on, say I want loads of raw iron, and just smash through a couple of refines of this. And I find that does a much better job of getting your blacksmithing level up than actually just forging, loads of low-level swords. So you'll also notice the more and more you do this, though, that your stamina goes down. So you actually have a smithy stamina out of 100. Basically, in effect, I guess they introduced this to stop you completely spamming this. And once your stamina gets down to 0, you basically have to wait for some time in a town. You'd have to go back. Actually wait here for some time. One kind of disappointing feature is the fact that if I then travel from, say, Uxkhal over here, over to, say, Saragot or Jaculan, then that doesn't increase your smithing level yet, your smithing stamina level. You actually have to physically wait for it to increase, which is kind of disappointing. You'll see we're now back up a little bit more. I would rather, it would be nice to see that travelling between towns and doing other things also raises that stamina level back up. Because, well, obviously just waiting around in town isn't a lot of fun. So once you've got some materials refined down to what you want it to be, then you're going to be looking at forging the various different swords you can do. So really, for any sort of tier 1 sword or equipment, you're going to need sort of a base smithing level of about 40. So for example, currently I've only got 2 blades unlocked at tier 1. As you both forge more stuff and as you smelt more stuff, so we'll touch on smelting in a minute, you'll unlock different ones of these which you can use. If we go and have a look at the Ridgeguard, I've currently got 3 unlocked. For example, we could have this style, and you see it actually changes physically on the sword. And then we've got the hand grip. Tier 1, I've only got 2 unlocked. And as you see the difficulty down here, let me put this down to a tier 1. Oh, that's kind of a cool little pommel ring. Nice. You'll see our difficulty is 40. If I went over to, say, a tier 2 selection and say, let's have a faceted pommel with basically a golf ball on the bottom of my sword, then you'll see it goes up to 50. If I go to tier 3, I haven't got one. If I go to tier 4, nope. There we go. Let's see if I've got a higher tier item on something else, and you'll see that, in effect, not working for me. There we go. There we go. You see, this will have a difficulty of 50. See, so it takes my skill level of the entire blade up to 90. Of course, it increases the stats on the blade, but yeah, it makes it quite a lot harder to craft. Plus, the actual required materials go a lot higher. You get the Samakine steel, which is obviously a really expensive steel. And, even though you get a real ton of damage with this, my smithing level isn't there. It would actually let me forge it, but you'll find you lose a lot of stats. You get a lot of negative modifiers applied to the sword because your smithing level simply isn't good enough for the sword that you're trying to create. So let's just go back to our basic tier 1. We'll have our simple Warsword blade, and you'll see we can now effectively forge that, and then you get the various stats associated with it. And because I had the minimum smithing level, I had that over that 50 difficulty level, that I don't get any negative modifiers applied to my sword. And sometimes when you get quite a bit over the level, I think you'll find sometimes you actually get positive modifiers applied. And you can even, as you get really high on, start to get legendary weapons, legendary equipment, and stuff like that, which is really kind of handy. And they're going to be worth a lot of money. You know, I've sort of seen examples of 20, 30,000 gold for a legendary weapon. So getting up there really can be quite an effective way of making money. And you can also name your swords, you know, I don't know, you can call him Dave or something like that, you know, if you wanted a sword. And then you can also, you know, use that, sell that, or if you wanted to, you can just smelt it back down. So we have the option to you can see, and you see the materials we get back: 3 wrought iron, 1 hardwood, and 2 crude iron. Although we have to add in a charcoal to actually be able to do this. And you can see we just interact with that, smelt that, and we get a lot of the materials back. Can be a really good way of making money, particularly with lower grade equipment that you get from things like bandits, you know, looters and sort of other stuff, because you can get quite a list of stuff to smelt down here. All the weapons can be smelted down, and you can get some pretty decent materials, because then when we go over to the trade tab, you can see the value of things like steel, you know, 357, you know, 690 for fine steel. It can be well worth smelting down some of the equipment you get to actually get these materials and just flog them, because you can make a really decent amount of money just doing this. But anyway, that really covers most of the basics of kind of how smithing works in the game. As you smelt down more materials and as you forge more swords, you basically randomly unlock all the different stuff that's available for the different equipments. Of course, there's a ton of other weapon types available, from, you know, javelins through to maces and all sorts. There's lots of different things that you can craft in this game. And all of them have various different stat requirements, but most of them start with a minimum of sort of 40 smithing, something like that. So basically, initially, you're going to be wanting to smelting and refining to try and get this up. I think the last thing I'll comment on is just be really careful where you get your hardwood from. Unless you're super rich, you want to be making sure you're buying them from suitable locations. Because some areas is significantly cheaper than the other. Here at Oxford, it's actually gone up a little bit at the moment. It's normally rocking sort of around sort of 16 to 18 here, which is where I normally get it in my usual place. But you can see, you know, it's for sale at Sargot for 28, and some places can even be 30 or 40 gold per piece of hardwood. And when you start to need sort of 100 of this stuff at a time, that can really start to add up to quite a lot of money and quite a big difference. So be sure to check multiple places, and you'll find that, or at least I find that the same places tend to be consistently cheap, more than likely, because this place actually has a hardwood village producing hardwood, which probably sells it directly to the place. So yeah, shop around for your hardwood and you'll save yourself a lot of money. Anyway, hopefully this has been a useful video and sort of guide. If it has, do let me know what you think in the comments down below. Of course, subscribe to the channel for a lot more Bannerlord content, and I shall see you guys all in the next video.